The fourth card was K, taking place inside the ancient temple at this time. They are all businessmen, officials, presidents, or anyone with money can participate. Even the monk cannot escape the temptation of this game. In addition to being a vegetarian and reciting Buddha's name, his card dealing ability has reached a masterful level. Feeling that he has a good hand, the monk starts to increase his bet to entice his opponent. From the initial 1,000,001, the bet has now reached 8 digits. This is a big bet where no one is allowed to make a mistake. The moment to flip the cards has come. The monk has a strong pair of cards in his hand that has defeated 2 houses. Only one person is left. The monk's face suddenly changes color when his card is flipped. The result makes the monk feel angry. The winner of this bet is Johann. His purpose of coming here is not to gamble, but to catch President Yang. A month ago, his superiors gave Johann a secret mission to destroy a gambling ring of high-ranking officials led by Chairman Yang. Johann risked his life. He accepted to bet everything on this mission. If he failed this time, his career would end here. Returning to the game, the casino owner began to worry after seeing Johann win big. He sent someone to take all of Johann's money. The newcomer was a cunning card player. Taking advantage of the moment when an employee spilled water on a customer, he and the monk secretly switched the deck of cards with a prepared one. After settling everything, they quickly increased the bet to entice others to follow. Johann was extremely shocked after receiving a good hand. He confidently followed this game to the end without knowing that he had been set up. The bet continued to increase over the rounds. In no time, it reached 30,000, double the previous bet. The beautiful female guest confidently played big by betting up to 77,000, making the men admire her. Not willing to lose to a woman, so Johann decided to go big and bet all his money. Just waiting for that, the sinister subordinate also bet all. The battle at this point was just a confrontation between the two of them when the monk and the other guests had all given up. Although Johann had a strong pair of 9s, the subordinate turned over a pair of 10s and won all the money in this game, leaving Johann with no money. Angry after losing, Johann immediately used his land book as collateral to prolong the waiting time for the police team to arrive. Although it was a secret mission, the information was leaked to many people. One of them was the girl at the betting table. Finding him very interesting, she offered to take Johann with her to escape from the temple, but was refused. When he returned to the casino, President Yang was gone. So the target he had spent so much effort following had run away. Too disappointed, Johann decided to expose the gambling scam of the shop before the police rushed in and arrested everyone. Today is the anniversary of his father's death, so Johann returns home from work to prepare for the ceremony. His superior also comes home to burn incense for colleague. At the same time, he gives Johann a new, more dangerous mission. This time, Johann must go to prison to find the tape that Li Guang hid. He was the one who led Chairman Yang to gamble, but was abandoned in prison. Therefore, all of his personal information will be classified as top secret by the department. Today is the day of the annual meeting of the chief prosecutors. After eating, Chief Muck happily goes home, but discovers that someone is following him. He took advantage of the blind spot to quickly hide and wait for the enemy. Just as the stalker passed by, he used force to control the masked man, but the man pulled out a weapon and slashed him before escaping. At the same time, on the familiar road, Johann was kidnapped by a group of men in black. When Johann woke up, he found himself in a dental clinic. Johann's hands and feet were tied to a chair. The casino owner was angry that his business was destroyed. Therefore, he sent someone to kidnap Johann. If Johann did not pay compensation for the damage, he would send someone to search Johann's grandmother's house to find the land certificate. Johann was furious that he dared to use grandmother as a threat. Johann tried to endure the torture and then brought his wounded body to the director's house to stay. At first glance, the director recognized what Johann had just gone through. He was amazed at Johann's courage. The director also said that Johann was very much like his father. Both father and son had a strong belief in justice. The director gave Johann some advice. The so-called belief will lead them on the right path, but over time, it will also lead them to danger. Therefore, he wants Johann to make the right decision before doing anything. Because of the dangerous nature of the upcoming mission, the director wants Johann to withdraw to ensure safety, but Chief Muck does not want that. He tries his best to convince Johann to go to prison to work as an undercover agent to find important evidence. But the director does not agree. He is concerned about the mysterious disappearance of a few colleagues after yesterday's party. Although Chief Muck was also attacked, he pretended not to know about it. After talking, each person separated to avoid being followed. Johann happily returned home when he suddenly received news that the director had died. Standing in front of the portrait of his late boss, Johann was stunned and could not believe his eyes. They were just talking this morning, but now Johann can no longer see the director. Chief Muck coldly brings Johann a report on the case. He points out that the director and those who work with them all received a phone number before the bad thing happened. The owner of the phone number is Prosecutor Yoon of the Tax Investigation Team No. 2. He is the one who is related to Chairman Yang, and he is also the one who used the most evil tricks to force others to do what he wants. Now the only way for everyone to survive is the document that Li Guang hid. With all his courage, Johann decides to go to jail to find evidence of Li Guang's crime. To be arrested, Johann is forced to take the of blame for his friend when this also appears at the casino. Chief Mock also erased Johan's personal file from the confidential data. Johan is ready to go to jail. Waiting for him here were not only the cruel thugs, but also those who had been imprisoned by him when he had broken up the gambling ring. After a thorough physical examination, Johan was assigned by the prison guards to a room reserved for the most cruel gangsters. These were notorious gangsters. They warmly welcomed Johan with a brutal beating. Johan was lying on the floor after being beaten. At that, Captain Sun-O came to inspect the room. He was the most powerful person in this prison thanks to his genius mind. This prison was actually run as a disguised casino. The prison guards bet on the prisoner's ability to win the game. There are 3 competition levels at this Seongju prison. Rank 3 is the lowest in the locker room, where cigarettes are used as chips. If you play well there, the warden will take you to the staff lounge. From rank 2 onwards, it's a money game. Sometimes the warden will bet on the prisoners or sponsor good players and take a percentage of the profit. If you stand out in rank 2, you will move up to rank 1 and join the prison captain Sun-O. He is a genius in the gambling world. While wandering in the training yard, Johan was suddenly taken away by the warden. He took Johan to a warehouse and locked the door. Unexpectedly, what awaited Johan were the gamblers he had imprisoned. Johan was surrounded and had no way out. Johan panicked and immediately approached the pot of boiling water to defend himself. They were following the boss's orders to collect debts. The thugs wanted Johan to compensate for causing the casino to shut down. Next was compensation for the subordinates when they couldn't work in prison. And finally, compensation for making them lose face at work. All of that added up to 1,000 won per week. If Johan didn't pay, they would forcefully take his grandmother's supermarket ownership papers. Johan felt that his grandmother would be in danger, so he risked his life to go to the underlings. But because there were too many of them, Johan and them were brutally beaten. Everything only stopped when the prison guard came to take Johan away. Returning to his room with a broken spirit, Johan worried about how to earn money to pay off the debt. Only then would they not touch his family. At night, during bath time, Johan was taken by his underlings to meet the boss of the cell block where he was staying. The boss offered to teach Johan how to earn 1,000 won. In return, Johan had to achieve the highest rank in this prison to have the opportunity to be close to Sun-O. Meanwhile, outside, Johan's grandmother was being chased by a car. Luckily, Johan's grandmother was saved by the girl at the casino. The girl was very curious why a judicial intern with high scores like Johan was arrested. Why did Johan take the red book of an expensive land just to pawn a few coins to gamble? The girl not only saved Johan's grandmother from danger, but also helped Johan's grandmother talk to Johan in prison. Johan's grandmother choked up with tears when she learned that her grandson was safe. They had only talked for a few sentences before hanging up. The girl advised Johan to earn money to pay off the debt to the gangster so that his grandmother could live in peace. In the evening, Johan confidently relied on the help of the boss to go gambling. The money was converted into 4 packs of cigarettes worth 20,000 won. The betting form in the 3rd class was poker. In the first round, with his calculating ability, Johan easily defeated all opponents. In the 2nd and 3rd rounds, no one was his opponent. But when it came to the 4th round, even though he had a pair of 9s in his hand, Johan still confidently increased his bet. The 3 cards that were turned over still did not have card Jack, Queen, King and Ace. This meant that his winning rate was still high. The 4th card was K. Seeing that his opponent seemed hesitant, Johan thought for sure that this would not have a pair higher than his, so he decided to follow. The last card turned over was a 10. At this point, his opponent increased his bet with a pack of cigarettes. Although he suspected that this was his opponent's trap, Johan still confidently followed through. And the worst happened. The card in his opponent's hand was a pair of kings, much larger than the pair of 9s that Johan had. He had lured Johan into this trap from the beginning. Johan was angry at being trapped, so he was determined to get back what he had lost. Johan's days continued like that. In the morning, he did manual labor, and at night, he went gambling. The cycle continued to repeat itself until Johan had used up all the money the boss provided. Feeling that Johan was no longer of any use, the boss abandoned him to the thugs who kidnapped him. They took Johan to a greenhouse to beat him. Johan used all his strength to resist. Luckily, he grabbed a hoe to escape. This chase only ended when the police came to arrest Johan and put him in solitary confinement for leaving the work area without permission. Johan was feeling depressed in the solitary confinement area when another prisoner spoke up. This person offered to teach Johan everything he needed to know to win the game of poker. Johan was wondering whether to trust this person or not when suddenly the prison warden came in and reported that his grandmother had passed away. Johan was shocked. He was extremely hurt by this shocking news. Johan was given special permission to return home for his grandmother's funeral. Johan couldn't believe his eyes when he saw the investigation file. The feeling of pain made Johan unable to think. Because the police didn't see any unusual injuries, they concluded that this was a case of voluntary left from this world. Only the house ownership papers were found next to her. Johan slowly realized that there was a mastermind behind everything. That mastermind was none other than Johan's friend from the same Department of Justice. He also admitted that he was only the one who influenced the plan and not the one who directly caused Johan's grandmother death. Unable to keep calm in the face of the truth, Johan rushed to beat him almost almost to death. Luckily, Chief Mok ran out to stop Johann. Chief Mok told Johann that instead of beating him, you should survive and endure to complete the mission. The USB was the best weapon for Johann to take revenge on all those who had hurt his family. Johann then decided to return to prison to accept the teachings of the mysterious prisoner. The way to win poker is very simple. A deck of cards has a total of 52 cards. With those 52 cards, you can create 169 different strong cards. After receiving the strong cards of the first 2 cards, you must know how your cards threaten the cards of others. To be able to remember the possible situations, Johann used the meditation method when he was in the temple. This allowed him to remember all the data of the game and at the same time calculate the probability of each card. The second important thing in the game is the seating position. The later bettors can easily come up with a plan according to the bets of the previous bettors, so they have a great advantage. Today is Johann's last day in solitary confinement. He ended 20 days of hard training with the mysterious master. The first thing Johann did after getting out was to beg the boss to give him another chance. This time, he would definitely get back everything he had lost and move up to first place. After a long time of training, Johann knew when to hit and when to fold. He easily calculated the probability of the cards, thereby luring his opponents to increase their bets. It was these calculations that helped him win big. With the capital in hand, Johann hired subordinates in the room to take revenge on his debt collectors. However, things still did not satisfy the boss. He wanted Johann to sneak into the special cell through the infirmary to approach Sun-Oh. To ensure everything went as smoothly as possible, the boss carefully had someone break Johann's leg so that no one would find out. After bandaging Johann's leg in the medical room, while the prison guard was not paying attention, Johann sneaked into the special cell to investigate more about Captain Sun-Oh. Seeing that the door was unlocked, Johann ventured into the room to find the most useful information possible. Not only did Johann not collect anything, he was also captured by Sun-Oh's men. Sun-Oh was furious. He would not let Johann off so easily. Sun-Oh forced Johann to play a game of guessing the name of the card. The reward was the truth that Johann wanted to know. If Johann was caught lying, the electric shocker would fall into the basin of water placed at the feet of the two. As a master of manipulating people's minds, so Sun-Oh easily discovered Johann's lies through every gesture. Instead of electrocuting Johann, he flipped the table and knocked Johann unconscious. It seemed like everything was over, but Johann quickly threw the electric shocker into the basin of water, causing both of them to be electrocuted and unconscious. After waking up, Johann was taken to the meeting room. When the girl at the casino was waiting for him, she introduced herself as So-Yeon. She came here because she wanted to know Johann's true purpose after their first meeting at the casino. Was he aiming for President Yang like her? If both of them had the same purpose, then she was ready to become Johann's strong supporter. The meeting ended. Before Johann could understand the story, he was taken to the prison warden's room. He wanted to know the identity of the VIP who requested to meet Johann. Although the prison warden tried everything, Johann still refused to answer the question. What Johann wanted now was to get to rank 1 as quickly as possible. Therefore, he had to defeat Sun-Oh. To carry out this plan, Johann bribed the guard's phone to call So-Yeon and said he agreed to cooperate. Johann needed money and her information network to find information about the mysterious master. With just one phone call, Johann met the person he needed to meet. The man called himself the professor of this prison. Johann went to see this man because he wanted to find out where Li Guang was, but the professor couldn't help either. Returning to life, the boss wanted Johann to speed up the process of approaching Sun-Oh. Johann had to kill Sun-Oh at all costs because his time in prison was almost up. That's why the boss ordered the subordinates to break Johann's leg again. But fortunately, the prison warden intervened in time to save Johann. It turned out that the professor wanted to help Johann, so he reported it to the prison warden. The professor showed Johann another way, which was to bribe the prison warden to get promoted to rank 1 without Sun-Oh's permission. At rank 2, the prison warden would sponsor the game fee and take a percentage. Therefore, if Johann wanted to get promoted to rank 1, as long as the player had the level and a strong enough sponsor, the promotion was completely possible. The next day, the professor and Johann went to see the prison warden to discuss the matter. Johann agreed without hesitation to give 60% of his winnings to the prison warden. The contract was established. In the evening, Johann was taken to the second-class room to play cards. Johann's opponents today were the guys he had put in prison. Because they cheated with each other through signals, Johann lost the first few games. Things were getting worse when Sun-Oh suddenly walked in. He was still angry because he had been defeated by Johann and had to be hospitalized. Because Sun-Oh was a gambling genius, so easily recognized how they cheated. After repeatedly folding his cards, Johann also discovered this cheating method. In poker, there are two main types of cheating. Usually, they use the color of the coins. White chips are diamonds, green chips are clubs, blue chips are spades, and red chips are hearts. The second way is to use noise to transmit signals. These are things Johann had learned. But after witnessing Sun-Oh's hand movements, Johann suddenly guessed that the mysterious prisoner was Sun-Oh. Even though he knew the trick, Johann still didn't understand why Sun-Oh helped him. Could it be that Sun-Oh wanted to trick Johann to get revenge? Now was not the time to hesitate, so Johann had to risk everything he had in this game. As long as the fifth card was not an ace, Johann would would win. The monk asked that he himself would reveal this last card. The card was slowly revealed. The monk's smile gradually revealed. He was extremely happy when he felt that victory was ahead. Johann collapsed when he saw the monk's expression. But when he turned over the card, it was only the two of diamonds. So the final winner was Johann. The monk felt extremely helpless. After returning to his room, Johann stayed up all night thinking with doubts. But no matter how he thought, he still could not explain why Sunno helped him. The next morning, Johann met Sunno on the rooftop. Sunno helped Johann without any reason. The incident at the repair shop was Sunno's own test of character for Johann. Sunno wants to find someone who can trust the plan that is the top priority for this fake world. The reason Sunno chose Johann is simple. Johann is smart and brave. Sunno's dream after being released from prison is to take over the gambling ring in Korea and become the leader of the country. To make this dream come true, Sunno is gathering all the talented people in prison. Sunno convinces Johann to join him. Returning to the prison cell, after the conversation on the rooftop, Johann salutes the boss before moving to the special area. He has decided to join Sunno to decide his own future. While here, all profits Johann earns will be divided into 60% and given to the prison warden, and 40% will be given to the professor. But only Sunno knows the amount of money Johann earns, so Sunno will help Johann earn some money. To welcome his new friend, Sunno prepares a gift for Johann. The person sitting in the wheelchair is Lee Guam, whom Johann is looking for. After being poisoned, Lee Guam became insane and lost control of himself. The only personal belongings left were USB and some cash. Today was the day the prison showed a movie to the prisoners in the special area. While watching, Johann was taken by the prison guard to meet the boss. He wanted to take the 800,000 phone that Johann owed to force Johann to betray Sunno. After leading Sunno to the meeting place, the boss's subordinates held weapons in their hands. It seemed that Johann would betray, but Johann refused to follow the boss's request. It turned out that before that, the mute that Johann saved in the bathroom had informed him the boss would want to harm him. Johann might die in this place. The boss just wanted Johann to stab Sunno once and then kill both of them at once. After much thought, Johann finally decided to side with Sunno. Although Johann's subordinates wanted to come to the rescue, they were stopped by the prison guards. Unable to hesitate any longer, the two of them rushed into a fight with the boss's subordinates. Johann, who was an intern at the Justice Department, had excellent health. He could fight a group of people for a few minutes. As for Sunno, he not only had a genius mind but also possessed top-notch martial arts. Worthy of the title of prison captain, Sunno easily defeated all those who stood in his way. Knowing that they could not fight Sunno alone, the subordinates simultaneously locked him up so that their comrades could deal with him with homemade tools. And of course, Sunno had prepared in advance. He had wrapped a layer of medical plaster around his body to make armor. But that's not all. Johann carefully prepared an assistant in case of emergency by agreeing to give the guard 90% of his income. In return, he would help Johann stay safe. The guards escorted the thugs away before they could cause a big problem. After his wounds were carefully treated, Sunno sinisterly took Johann to the repair room and brought out the boss's gang's badge to play with the rattle. Instead of playing with marbles, Sunno played with the boss's gang. He tortured them along with the traitor professor. While they were having fun, the prison warden called and told Sunno not to make a big deal out of this, forcing him to obey. After dealing with the traitor, Sunno wanted to train Johann in the ability to withstand beatings. So Sunno threw Johann into the room of the gamblers so that everyone could interact with each other. Johann could only return when his body was covered in wounds. After the physical training, now it was time for cheating training. Johann couldn't believe that the mute he saved could speak and was a master at cheating. If he wanted to survive here, Johann had to master everything the mute taught him. After finishing the first course, Johann was taken by Sunno to visit a first-level betting match. Johann focused on observing and serving the distinguished guests to gain experience. Sunno had no intention of hiding anything, so he also revealed to Johann that the new debts were the real money vault. In the computer file, there were all the copies of loan papers, land titles, real estate information, or anything that could make money. The mute standing next to was afraid that Sunno would reveal all the confidential information, so he stopped him. As agreed, Soo-yeon was responsible for finding the truth about Johann's grandmother's death. After a lot of effort, Soo-yeon finally found a video of Johann's grandmother being thrown under the bridge. Johann was extremely shocked when he saw the video. The real culprit was Johann's boss. He decided to suppress all his anger and wait for the day he would meet Chief Mok again. Chief Mok's previous words were all lies. Just because he trusted Chief Mok, Johann caused his grandma death. Finally, the day he would meet Chief Mok again had come. Chief Mok still didn't know that Johann had seen the video of what he had done to Johann's grandmother. Johann's voice was so calm that it was scary. Johann's anger was growing. Nothing could stop Johann now. Just because he let his anger take control for a minute, Johann accidentally killed Chief Mok. But that was only in Johann's mind. Everything had yet to be proven. Chief Mok recounted that 3 months ago he received an anonymous message with an IP address. When he arrived at the designated place, he discovered that Johann's grandmother was lying there. Even so, Johann couldn't completely trust against him. Before finding the person who filmed the video, Johan still needed Chief Mock. Johan decided to keep quiet and follow the original plan. 5 days ago, Johan was asked by Sun-Oh to investigate the mute's ledger. Sun-Oh suspected that the mute was secretly embezzling his gambling money, so Johan took advantage of the time he spent practicing with the mute to find out where the ledger was hidden. Johan hurriedly searched through all the storage compartments of the mute's subordinates, but still found nothing useful. Being so engrossed in his search, Johan forgot that the mute was about to return. Behind him was a mess that Johan had just created. In order not to let the mute find out, Johan chose to injure himself so that the prison guard and the mute would not have time to check the room. After a few days of observation, Johan discovered that the mute guy had a habit of throwing away all the newspapers he read during the staff's mealtime. Feeling that this could be a clue to the ledger, Johan sneaked into the room to check each newspaper. There were too many newspapers to check, so it took a lot of time. Suddenly, the mute guy entered the room and discovered Johan rummaging through something. Johan quickly made up an excuse that he was looking for a newspaper to read and quickly left. The notebook was very close to Johan but was destroyed by the mute guy right after that as a precaution. That night, after returning to his room, Johan was assassinated by a stranger who sneaked into his room. While he was sleeping, Johan tried to scream in vain. His eyes turned white and his consciousness gradually faded. Because he was so scared, Johan suddenly woke up. It turned out that it was all just a dream. Today, Johan continued to practice with the mute guy. After taking the medicine he gave him, Johan asked, "Why you hated me so much? Was it because I betrayed my fellow inmates that I was transferred here, that you didn't trust me?" But to him, whether Johan lied or not was not important. What was important was how big Johan's status must be to have VIP guests visiting every week. Johan was about to leave when his eyes gradually blurred. Johan's body almost lost its response. Feeling the poison in the medicine, Johan painfully tried to crawl out of this place, but it was too late. The mute guy had caught up and knocked him out before the prison guard arrived. Johan was quickly taken to the special emergency room. After waking up, Johan saw the mute guy sitting there waiting for him. The mute guy gave Johan a choice: live quietly until prison sentence was over, or he would kill Johan himself. In the middle of the night, when no one was around, Johan sneaked into the staff room and made a phone call to report that he had found the hidden documents. The purpose of Johan's actions was to make the mute guy who was following him afraid. When didn't know who had information about the ledger as scheduled, Chairman Yang and Director Jin went to see the warden. He asked the warden to take him to meet Li Guang, but the person the warden took him to meet was Sun-Oh. It turned out that Sun-Oh and Chairman Yang were teammates before, but because Sun-Oh wanted to separate to do business, he betrayed Chairman Yang, and now the two of them saw each other as enemies. It was Chairman Yang who cut off Sun-Oh's penis to settle all the previous grudges. Sun-Oh confidently suggested a decisive match. The time for the match was set. On the way back, Chairman Yang met Johan passing by. Chairman Yang thought Johan was Sun-Oh's subordinate who wanted to attack him, so he took the initiative to control Johan first. When he discovered that Johan had no weapon in his hand, Chairman Yang left. Back at the medical room, Sun-Oh and the mute guy wanted to know why Johan hated the chairman so much. When searching Johan, they found that Johan hid a dagger and a wiretap under his socks. After checking that the file on the wiretap was empty, the mute guy still suspected Johan of being a traitor. He was afraid that Johan would destroy his current happy life. So after listening to the mute guy's arguments, Sun-Oh decided to set up a pendulum to punish Johan for carrying a knife. Johan was chasing the murderer who harmed his grandmother. He learned that Chief Mock, the head of the second prosecution, had found his grandmother's body before the police. So Johan needed the wiretap to get a confession. Depending on this guy's answer, Johan would immediately decide what to do with this people. So he brought a knife. After hearing the truth from Johan, Sun-Oh decided to trust him again. Sun-Oh needs a teammate to duel with Chairman Yang in a month. Therefore, Sun-Oh needs to quickly train Johan in the necessary cheating skills to win this match. Sun-Oh said that when a person enters a cheating state, the body will react first. Goosebumps will appear on the hands and neck, and the lips will start to dry out. Suddenly, the eyes become extremely sharp and see everything clearly. But when he realized it, it was too late. Suddenly, Johan asked if he looked like he was lying, making Sun-Oh laugh. Sun-Oh decided to save Johan. In return, Johan would help Sun-Oh defeat Chairman Yang. On the way to the medical room, Sun-Oh was stopped by the mute guy and his subordinates. He wanted to take advantage of the investigation of Johan to take control of the prison. At this moment, a security guard arrived. Sun-Oh asked the prison guard not to care about what he was about to do. He immediately drew the prison guard's weapon and knocked the mute guy down. Sun-Oh was so ruthless that this guy was left gasping for breath on the ground. Sun-Oh wanted to take this opportunity to reaffirm his position in front of the other prisoners. After returning to his old room, Johan officially received the most rigorous training. Every day after waking up, Johan had to practice shuffling cards in front of a mirror. The key to cheating was to deal and shuffle the cards according to his wishes. To reach the level of mastery, Johan had to master 3 basic skills. The first step was to make the cards stick to his hand. The second was to know how to shuffle each card one by one. And finally, to remember the order of the cards appearing in the blink of an eye. The morning training ended and now moved to the afternoon. Johan was thrown into the thug's room by Sun-Oh to train his physical strength. strength. Especially Johan must not injure his hands. After being beaten many times, this time Johan has completed the exercise excellently by being able to defeat the thugs while keeping his hands uninjured. Returning to the room after the battle, Johan continues to practice playing cards without stopping. Suddenly Johan asks Sunno if President Yang is better you. Sunno answers because he is lucky. When Sunon was young, because he won big at illegal casinos, they recruited him to play cards as the first star player. But because he wanted to fight President Yang, Sunno proposed a competition. Although Sunno is excellent, that is not enough because all the tricks of playing cards, card playing techniques and fighting psychology are all taught to him by President Yang. And this time, President Yang gave Sunno a memorable defeat when he bet everything on this bet. After accepting defeat, President Yang brutally tortured Sunno. Luckily, Sunno had his penis reattached. Gradually, after many days, Johan finally mastered the cheating techniques. His skills improved day by day, making Sunno very satisfied. Meanwhile, outside, Suyan and the policewoman were actively searching for the tape recording the scene of Chief Mok under the bridge. When they determined the location of the person who bought the policeman's camera, they were attacked by a masked man. Luckily, the two of them worked together to defeat the killer and successfully escaped. Today was the day of the betting match between Chairman Yang and the prison captain. The rules were very simple. Each person was given a number of chips corresponding to 100,000. The person at the last table was the winner. If Chairman Yang won, this prison would be his, but if Sunno won, Chairman Yang would say goodbye. The first game was dealt by President Yang himself. Sunno observed every move of President Yang very carefully to detect cheating tricks. To be more certain of his thinking, Sunno wanted Johan to follow this game to the end, even though Johan's cards had no chance of winning. What Sunno wanted was to make President Yang look down on Johan, thereby turning the situation around to win the final victory. This time the turn to deal belonged to Sunno. With his skillful card-playing technique, he challenged President Yang to see through the tricks he used. The bet kept increasing. Sunno wanted to set a trap for President Yang to fall into. 1,000, 2,000, then up to 20,000. As Sunno predicted, President Yang would follow. But when Sunno increased the bet to 50,000, President Yang folded. President Yang felt that Sunno had cheated in this game, so he played it safe. Now it was Johan's turn to deal the cards. Since the other two were paying attention to Sunno, Johan could deal the cards calmly. After many rounds, the game was more favorable to President Yang, but what Sunno had been waiting for finally arrived. Johan had awakened his strongest senses. His lips were gradually drying up. His eyes could observe even the smallest movements. All the elements for victory were gathered. This was the time for Johan to show everything he had learned. He had to calmly shuffle the cards under the watchful eyes of his opponents. Just because they looked doesn't mean they saw the trick. What Johan needed to do now was to calm down and feel each card he played. But because he was a newbie, Johan's hand movements were still slow. Therefore, all of the tricks were discovered by President Yang. President Yang immediately pinned Johan's hand down on the table, intending to stab him. Luckily, Sunno reacted in time and was able to control President Yang's subordinate, Director Jin. From the beginning, Sunno had paid attention to Director Jin instead of President Yang. Sunno forced her to unbutton her sleeves to reveal the cards hidden inside. President Yang's cheating trick had been exposed, so he was very angry and wanted to call the police, but there were surveillance cameras everywhere in the prison. If he acted rashly, Sunno would spread the video of President Yang cheating to the whole country. Sunno would only release Director Jin if President Yang promised to never come to prison again. After this victory, Sunno admitted that it took him a year to master the card game. The best time to cheat is when the opponent cheats, so he took advantage of Johan. Sunno thought that Johan was angry that he was controlling Johan without knowing. However, Johan did not think so. He wanted Sunno to continue to win like today. A month later, today is the day Sunno leaves prison. That is why the position of captain is vacant. Johan must take this position by all means. As for everything outside, Su-yeon will take care of it. The mute guy frantically ordered his subordinates to search everywhere in the prison to eliminate Johan. He was also plotting to take that position. After bribing the prison warden, the mute man was shown to the place where Johan was waiting. As soon as the mute guy entered, he said that as long as Johan obediently lived peacefully in prison, he would let Johan go. Otherwise, only death was waiting for Johan. From the very first days Johan entered the prison, the mute felt that his eyes were not normal. Those eyes did not have any guilt at all. That was either a madman or Johan was hiding a huge secret. It was time for Johan to decide to tell the mute the whole truth. After the mute guy called to confirm with the head of the mock department and learned of Johan's identity, the mute decided to side with Johan when Johan gave him half of the casino's profits. That's why all the subordinates in the prison listened to Johan's instructions. The position of captain officially belonged to Johan, but that was still not enough. Johan needed a stronger power, the power that made the prosecutor fear, and it was in this prison. Sinseondong, a room reserved for the richest tycoons in Korea. To get into Sinseondong, Johan had to trick the warden. Johan, with a serious expression, made up a story that Sinseondong called him and let the warden lead him there. So Johan easily tricked the warden and entered the forbidden area. There was an old man who worked as a henchman for the tycoons. Johann asked him if he knew anything about this place. But Johann received advice from the old man not to be curious if he didn't want to get into trouble. A moment later, the warden came down. As soon as he saw the old man, the warden's attitude became respectful and polite. It turned out that the old man was the head of this building, also known as the Loan Shark One Bong. Money wasn't everything to this man. What was more frightening was the world he created, a world not dominated by money and power. Today, Su Yan arranged a meeting between Johann and Chairman Wan Bong. Johann wanted to bribe the chairman, but he didn't want to deal with gamblers. This visit was only for Su Yan, not for money. He was the one who saved her unfortunate life. Su Yan's mother was a successful businesswoman, but was falsely accused of being the one behind the investment manipulation. As if she knew her future, she prepared evidence to denounce the real mastermind before she passed away. Only her little daughter was left, who was tricked by the lawyer and lost the valuable documents. Not only that, they also kidnapped Su Yan and made her become a prostitute in nightclubs. Luckily, she finally met Chairman Wan Bong, and he changed her fate. All her movements in and out of prison were discovered by Prosecutor Hong. He had people monitor her at all times. After finding out information from the camera and cell phone of the police officer who died while investigating Johann's case, Su Yan successfully linked the facts together. Only the Joker had not appeared yet. He is Yang Hua, Chairman Yang's older brother, the real leader of the Bukjong gang, and also the most dangerous person in this war. After a long time of searching, Su Yan finally discovered that the child met Johann's grandmother before the incident, but she couldn't go there because she was being followed by the prosecutors. Now she can only rely on Johann. He is still thinking about whether to involve Sun O in this matter. But first, Johann must get all the documents related to the warden's transaction history. So Johann and his subordinates break into the warden's room to steal all the data on the computer. Through that, Johann discovers the person who often goes out to work for Sinxian Dong. Johann has his men break this guy's leg, forcing Chairman Wan Bong to appear. Because Johann had all the illegal money transaction data of Chairman Wan Bong and the warden, so Johann easily forced Chairman Wan Bong to hand over his job as a henchman to Johann. After receiving the release papers, Johann quickly went to the meeting point with Su Yan. She had arranged for a police agent to help him outside the prison. Johann's mission was very simple. He had to go to the designated location to deliver the letter. When Johann arrived, his subordinates took him inside to meet their boss. Unexpectedly, this person was the casino owner that Johann had reported to the police before. The goods that Johann had to get back were the lawyer he had captured. The casino owner was angry and wanted to kill Johann, but he heard fighting outside. It turned out that the lawyer was not an ordinary person. After hearing that the chairman had come to save him, the lawyer immediately dealt with all the subordinates and helped Johann escape. Because they were seriously injured, the two of them could only hide in a hidden corner to observe the casino owner's movements. This guy slowly pulled out his weapon and approached the place where the two were hiding, but luckily, the female inspector who was with Johann appeared and stopped him in time. On the way to the police station, his subordinates boldly stole a police car to rescue him. At this moment, after Su Yan distracted the pursuers, she drove to save Johann. But because the time outside was limited, Johann had to rush to the orphanage immediately. The lawyer would be taken care of by her. When they arrived, Johann found the child but was stopped by the casino owner. He had secretly put a tracking device in the back pocket of Johann's pants, so he knew all of Johann's actions. Johann led the child to escape from the boss's pursuit, but was hit by a car. The person who just got out of the car was none other than Yang Hua. Luckily, Su Yan arrived in time to save Johann from danger. Prosecutor Hong was also following closely behind to arrest Johann, but the person sitting in the car at this time was not Johann, but the female inspector who was with him, and Johann had already run back to prison safely. The chairman angrily blamed Johann for making such a mess. Prosecutor Hong would definitely not let things go after being deceived by Johann like that. The chairman warned Johann that if you wanted to live a full life, you should forget about me. Johann was still haunted by the sudden death of the child. It was Yan Hua who caused this tragic accident. The important thing now was to find the child's father, who was Sang Qi. Sang Qi was also the most important person who could prove the Yang brothers' money laundering. With his background as a notorious gangster, Yan Hua quickly took over the Bukjong gang. However, the life of a gangster was too tiring, so they developed a company to live legally. But there was one person who was even more terrifying than the mafia. That was the loan shark who managed the Goldman Casino, the Chairman Wan Bong. At the height of Chairman Wan Bong's power, it came from the casino. To be more precise, it was through the casino that he laundered money for the super rich. Realizing that this was a good opportunity to get rich, the Yang brothers used force to take over Chairman Wan Bong's position and put him in jail. To protect the Yang brothers, the powerful bribed the prosecutor to ensure that nothing unexpected happened. Johann was entrusted by the child with the only social media account that could contact his father. When Johann logged into this account, he was shocked to see the whole truth. The masked man was his close senior. That person was none other than Sun O. It was Sun O who followed the orders of Chairman Wan Bong to hinder Johann's investigation plan. It was also Sun O who was the real culprit who killed Johann's grandmother. Johann was filled with anger and extreme pain when he learned Sun O's true identity. Memories of Sun O came flooding back. Sun O was the one who supported Johann until now. rationale. It was also Sun-Oh who helped Johan overcome all the difficulties and challenges in prison. It was Sun-Oh who taught Johan the techniques of playing cards. To Johan, Sun-Oh was no different from an older brother in the family. At this time, at the prosecutor's office, Prosecutor Hong was sending people to investigate illegal activities in the prison. Prosecutor Hong went to see Chairman Wan Bong to threaten him. Prosecutor Hong called Johan to put pressure on the chairman. He suggested that Johan hand over the envelope that the chairman had asked him to deliver, and in return, Johan would know the truth about his grandma case. Contrary to his expectations, Johan pretended to be innocent and did not know about the envelope. Johan would take care of his grandma case himself. After returning from the failed negotiations, Prosecutor Hong could not bear this humiliation. He sent people to search everywhere and promised to reward those who provided important information. As expected, someone who hated Johan leaked the information to Prosecutor Hong. They raided the casino while everyone was playing cards. The warning was immediately sent to the captain. The entire casino fell into chaos, everyone trying to find a way to escape. The close subordinates stabilized the organization and sent people to guide the VIPs out through the emergency door. At the same time, the managers quickly destroyed the evidence related to gambling activities. Time was getting more and more urgent. The prosecutors had arrived at the door, so they quickly broke the lock, while the managers were busy burning all the evidence. When the prosecutors rushed into the warden's room, everything had been cleaned up. The casino had disappeared without a trace. However, Prosecutor Hong was not someone who would give up so easily. The very next morning, he had all the prison guards arrested. At the same time, he completely replaced the prison's personnel. The special cells were also removed. There was no more captain and no more casino. Johan was helplessly taken back to his old room. Waiting for him now was the old boss and his subordinates. Johan remembered Sun-Oh's instructions. Johan could not let them bully him like before. When he saw a guy intending to attack him from behind, Johan quickly threw a punch to this guy's chin, knocking this one unconscious. Taking advantage of the enemy's surprise, Johan attacked one after another. The subordinates were no match for Johan. The most dangerous people always appeared last. Such people should be dealt with decisively. Only then would the subordinates be terrified. The boss rushed forward to strangle Johan, while the subordinate pulled out his weapon and prepared to kill Johan. But with just one turn, Johan caused the subordinate to stab the boss straight into his main artery. When the warden arrived, it was too late. Because of excessive blood loss, the boss had died. Their testimonies all pointed to Johan as the culprit. The new warden wanted to transfer Johan to another prison under the orders of Prosecutor Hong. Of course, Johan did not agree and asked to call a lawyer. The person Johan begged for help was Chairman Wan Bong. As long as he could stop Prosecutor Hong, Johan was willing to forget everything related to the chairman. Today was the day Johan was transferred to the new prison. Before getting in the car, Johan saw the chairman nearby. Just one more step and Johan would face a 13-year prison sentence. Suddenly, Johan saw the silhouette of the child he could not save. Johan knelt down in pain. Johan crawled step by step towards the chairman. Despite his knees being soaked in blood, Johan begged President Yang to save him. He was willing to be the president's most loyal henchman. In response to his request, President Yang was pleased with Johan's performance. So President Yang decided to take Johan as his subordinate. The first mission he gave Johan was to kill Sang-ki, the father of the child that Johan could not save. Johan was stunned and did not understand why he wanted Sang-ki's life. But Johan had to put aside his pity. Johan accepted the mission as agreed. His sentence had also been settled by his lawyer. Starting from today, Johan was officially released after serving his sentence. Johan slowly walked to enjoy some sunlight after a long time of suffering in prison. The fresh air made him feel very comfortable, but that couldn't make Johan forget the person who ordered the captain to harm his grandmother, the person who made his life miserable. Everything he asked Suyun to prepare was done. Now it was Johan's turn to go find the culprit. The next day, Lawyer Koo came to pick Johan up to carry out the mission. Sang-ki was exposed location after using the payment card. Johan went to the sauna to look for Sang-ki. He searched every corner of the shop but couldn't find Sang-ki. When Johan was about to give up, he discovered a suspicious figure. Johan quickly chased this guy into the bathroom but was locked up by this person and escaped. Luckily, someone opened the door to help Johan. Johan continued to chase Sang-ki. Johan intended to tell Sang-ki about the child, but Lawyer Koo had already dealt with Sang-ki. The two took him to an abandoned vacant lot deep in the forest. Johan was in charge of digging a hole to prepare to bury Sang-ki's body. Because it was his first time killing someone, Lawyer Koo gave Johan 15 minutes to act. When Lawyer Koo drove away, Johan untied Sang-ki and told him to drive forward for 5 minutes and a car would be waiting. Johan had promised the child that I would save your father, so this time, Johan would disobey the chairman's orders. The watch that Lawyer Koo made Johan wear had a tracking device and a voice recorder installed. Therefore, everything Johan did was known to Lawyer Koo. Johan also knew this in advance. So after letting Sang-ki go, Johan revealed the truth to Lawyer Koo that the chairman actually wanted to kill the two of them to silence them. So he had his subordinates kidnap Johan. In order to save their lives, the two decided to cooperate to trick Chairman Yang with another scapegoat. The next morning, news of Sang-ki's death was all over the newspapers. This was also known to the Korean tycoons. Immediately, representatives of powerful organizations in Macau flew flew to Korea to meet with the Yang brothers and prosecutors. They were very concerned about the unnecessary troubles happening here. The black funds were losing 260 billion won. Sang-ki's death had stopped money laundering in Korea. 1/3 of Goldman's assets belonged to the triads in Macau, where they were even electing a chairman. The daily liquidity was more than 1 billion won for each withdrawal. Therefore, the headquarters wanted to know who was responsible for this. The reason why the powerful people hired them was to handle urgent matters like this. Not only did the people in Macau take action, but even Chairman Won Bong had already started his plan. He wanted to buy all the shares of the Yang Group by tricking the powerful people into gambling, and the person who played these games was none other than Johan. After ordering Johan to do the work, Chairman Won Bong suddenly made an appointment to meet with the prosecutor's people to ask for help. He wanted the two prosecutors to cooperate with him to defeat the Yang brothers and get them out of the company. If the plan succeeded, he would give the company back to the two. Faced with the chairman's attractive offer, the two prosecutors wavered a bit. Tonight, Johan would start implementing the plan. The first person Johan targeted was the company's financial director. Johan easily swindled him out of his money and forced him to sign a contract to transfer company shares. One person after another, everything went smoothly. When Johan had won all the way to get the company shares, on the way home he was suddenly followed by the people of the department head Mok. But luckily, Johan distracted them. At the same time, lawyer Koo also took a picture of the department head Mok and his subordinates. At this time, at the company, the Yang brothers had captured the casino owner after he escaped. They intended to torture this guy to satisfy themselves, but Yang Hwa deliberately mocked his younger brother for having unrequited love. As an experienced person, Yang Hwa advised his younger brother to let go of your attachment to Soo-yeon. Otherwise, the only one who would suffer would be you. Being mocked like that, President Yang left despite his brother calling him back. He couldn't bear the fact that he was so infatuated with a girl, so he called Soo-yeon and invited her and her friends to join the VIP-only casino. Everything was going according to Johan's plan. Sun-oh had said before that he had to take over Goldman Casino to become the #1 gambling house in Korea. But in fact, this was just a facade. The real money was made in the VIP room, the gathering place of the super rich. You have to have an invitation to attend. That is the money laundering place of the hotel, Goldman's Black Fund. The Black Fund manager will become the casino manager. So as long as Johan controls the Black Fund, he will have the whole casino in his hands. The hardest part is getting the invitation ticket, which is solved. Now he just needs to follow the plan, and he will win. After being released, the thug revealed someone who knew Johan's whereabouts to Chairman Yang. He was the one who provoked the mute guy while he was in prison by saying that Johan had abandoned the mute guy. This made the mute guy extremely angry and wanted to fight him. So after being released from prison, the thug and the chairman went to find the mute guy to ask for more information. Being a greedy person, when he saw the pile of money that Chairman Yang gave, the mute guy did not hesitate to reveal everything. The mute guy said that after being released from prison, Johan made money in large and small casinos with lawyer Koo. Johan did this to find the culprit who killed his grandmother. That was all the information the mute guy knew. Today was the day that President Yang's company was listed on the stock exchange. He had prepared everything very carefully for the party. From the reception to the attentive service of the VIP guests, everything was at a perfect level. Johan had also finished preparing. On the way to Goldman, Johan suddenly received a message from the team leader. When Johan arrived at the address in the letter, he met Sun-oh again. Even though Johan was facing the enemy who killed his grandmother, Johan still tried to suppress his emotions. Sun-oh curiously asked Johan how he got the invitation to the party. At the same time, Sun-oh learned about the money laundering process at Goldman. They gave money to foreign players who wanted to gamble to legalize the illegal money. The money was then transported to a special room. Here, the money counters were running at full capacity. After the money was withdrawn from the Macau headquarters, the international remittance was completed. The money would be converted to Bitcoin in Hong Kong and transferred to non-tax countries under the accounts of ghost companies. The two still understood each other as before, but unfortunately, now they had become enemies. The moment of the decisive battle had come. Johan entered the VIP room without any fear. The participants in the betting table were all rich people with huge assets. As soon as he entered the table, Johan did not show any mercy to anyone. He continuously won against the VIP guests. Today, he had earned 732,000 won in total. At this time, President Yang walked over from afar. He had already sent someone to inform the guests that he would deal with Johan tonight. President Yan was about to draw his weapon and kill Johan, but when Johan asked Soo-yeon's name, he changed his mind. Chairman Yang himself would sit down at the table and decide to play a big game. Right from the start, Chairman Yang had bet up to 1.6 billion won. Even though he had a good deck of cards, he didn't understand why he kept losing to Johan. Even though he knew Johan was up to something, he didn't expect Johan to be so good. There must be someone help. It turned out that before the bet started, Johan had prepared everything, from the appearance of the mute when tricking the chairman, as well as begging the VIP guests present today. In return, he would give the company owned by the Yang brothers to the distinguished guests who agreed to help. Johan was sure to win this bet. No matter how the chairman cheated, Johan's cards were still still one level higher. Chairman Yang was furious at being tricked, so he decided to play a big game by raising the bet to 60 billion plus Goldman's VIP room. To ensure victory, Johan quickly shuffled his cards. Although they had the same score, Johan's cards were still higher than the chairman's. After losing to Johan, Chairman Yang went crazy. He ordered his men to seal off the room. Chairman Yang pulled out a knife and held it to the necks of everyone, from the dealer to the chairman. He was about to take action against the dealer when Su-yeon pulled out a gun and threatened him. She was prepared in case of an emergency. Su-yeon shot Chairman Yang straight in the leg without hesitation. After disguising themselves as employees and taking Chairman Yang hostage, Johan and Su-yeon split up to find a way to escape. They hadn't gone far when Su-yeon was surrounded. When they were about to pull out their guns and attack, the lights in the lobby suddenly went out. Taking advantage of the guards' poor vision, Su-yeon quickly escaped, and the person who turned off the circuit breaker was none other than the casino owner Seiya. Johan had someone save him before the chairman's subordinates buried him, and now the two are working together to defeat the Yang brothers. Outside, the mute guy is trying his best to trick Suno so that the department head can easily kidnap Director Jin. Before carrying out the plan, Johan met with department head Mok to talk. Johan knew that the department head had to eliminate him to avoid being transferred. Therefore, Johan suggested that department head Mok cooperate with him to defeat those who hindered him. Back to the present, after escaping, Su-yeon gathered with the department head Mok in the secret factory. She was letting someone hack into Goldman's slush fund account. She had to open the account without letting department head Mok know. After getting the account and password, the next step was to identify the iris of Director Jin or Yang Hua. The news that Director Jin had been arrested had reached President Yang. He was furious and ordered someone to offer a reward of 100,000 to anyone who could find the fugitives. Contrary to the chairman's expectations, Johan risked his life to meet President Yang's brother. This person was the one who caused the accident to the innocent child. In order to get revenge, Johan attacked Yang Hua. But because the difference in strength between the two was too great, Johan was easily overwhelmed by Yang Hua. Yang Hua strangled and lifted Johan up, letting him struggle in despair. But Johan was not a fool. Before the fight, he had applied a very strong sedative to his gloves. Just touching skin would make the other unconscious, no matter how strong this one was. With just one touch on Johan, Yang Hua was lying convulsing on the floor. Johan easily got the iris recognition and transferred all 300 billion to his personal account. After completing the mission, Johan escaped under the fierce pursuit of the guards and the police. After desperately escaping, Johan got into a taxi and escaped. Surprisingly, the driver was Prosecutor Hong. It turned out that President Won Bong had cooperated with the prosecution to help Johan. At this time, the mute guy man in the car had also finished dealing with Sun-Oh by knocking him out. The police discovered and took Sun-Oh to President Yang's place. Sun-Oh was brutally tortured by President Yang to extract information, but Sun-Oh didn't know anything about this plan. To save Sun-Oh, Johan once again brought the fund account to make the transaction, because Johan was the one holding the evidence, so he had the right to make his own decisions. After leading Sun-Oh to the car, Johan threw back the phone containing the slush fund. The Yang brothers once again knew they were being scammed when 300 billion disappeared from the fund account right before their eyes. Because before making the transaction, Johan had someone complete the money transfer procedure into his personal account. Taking advantage of a few minutes for the bank to verify the money transfer, he risked making the transaction and tricked the Yang brothers. After Sun-Oh was rescued, Johan coldly tied Sun-Oh to a place and began to interrogate him. Johan wanted Sun-Oh to confess that it was Sun-Oh who killed his grandmother. It was also Sun-Oh who kidnapped San-ki and his son under the orders of Chairman Won Bong. All the evidence was there, including the video of Sun-Oh committing the crime and the dead boy's testimony. However, the scheming Sun-Oh escaped from the ropes. He deliberately pressed on the wound, causing blood to flow out, and he passed out. Meanwhile, Chief Mok was still holding Director Jin. Even though Chief Mok tried everything, Director Jin still did not cooperate. Chief Mok was angry and began to torture Director Jin until she confessed. No matter how he beat or tortured her, she still refused to confess. The news of Johan's successful recovery of the secret fund reached Chairman Won Bong. He was very happy that Johan had defeated the Yang brothers, so his plan had succeeded. However, now he has officially revealed his true face. Feeling that Johan has lost his usefulness, he ordered lawyer Koo to kill Johan. Johan has also prepared a plan to deal with Chairman Won Bong. The next morning, Johan went to the hospital to visit him. Chairman Won Bong wanted Johan to transfer all the money into his own company's stocks, but Johan did not think so. Johan transferred all the 300 billion into two newly established companies. All legal procedures were handled properly by Johan's people. This was his declaration of war against Chairman Won Bong. From now on, Chairman Won Bong has lost his usefulness. Even Sinshandong's people voted to remove Chairman Won Bong. Instead, Johan will become the new manager of the Goldman Casino. By all means, Johan will eliminate all those who have pushed his life into such a miserable state. The revenge has only just begun. Chairman Won Bong will be handled by lawyer Koo himself. Lawyer Koo had someone arrest Sun-Oh along with Chairman Won Bong. Sun-Oh himself will be the one to end all past grudges with the chairman. It was Chairman Won Bong who ruined Sun-Oh's life. life. It was also Chairman Wanbong who pushed him into a broken home. Chairman Wanbong's ambition is very great. He not only wants to kill Johan, but also implicates his close lawyer. Chairman Wanbong is the one who created the two evil people of the Yang family. He even ordered Suno to kidnap and kill Sun Qi and his son and Johan's grandmother. Now Chairman Wanbong will have to suffer the consequences of what he has done. Before Suno could kill him, Suno fainted from anemia. Lawyer Ku did not hesitate to text Chairman Wanbong's location to Yang Hua. Johan was very angry when he knew that Lawyer Ku informed the Yang brothers. Suno is an important person to Johan in this battle. Johan had to risk his life to save Suno, but now he has fallen into Yang Hua's hands. Lawyer Ku warned Johan to fulfill his duty as a manager instead of letting personal feelings interfere with work. At this time, Yang Hua was leading people to raid Su Yun's house. But what he did not expect was that the prosecutor's office was also lying in wait here, waiting for him to fall into the trap. His actions were caught red-handed, so he was immediately escorted back to the police station. In the interrogation room, Annie, the representative of Macau, spoke directly to him. She informed him that the chairman wanted to fire Yang Hua. The news that he had used up all the slush funds had reached the ears of the truly powerful people in Macau. Although Annie knew that Yang Hua would earn the money back, those powerful people did not think so. The Yang brothers were officially stripped of all power, and the office was also confiscated, waiting for a new owner. Downstairs, Johan and his associates confidently entered. Annie announces the decision to appoint Johan as the new manager of Goldman. Suno's fate is now in great danger because he has been thrown into the furnace by Chairman Yang. At this time, everyone in the Supreme Prosecutor's office is worried about Johan being promoted to manager. Internal information has been leaked, causing the Ministry of Justice to reject the current promotion list. To solve this, Prosecutor Yoon is forced to meet Annie for help. Prosecutor Yoon has not been sympathetic to Annie from the beginning. Prosecutor Yoon doesn't want to bow to the tycoons, but wants to receive money. In order to control Prosecutor Yoon, Annie is forced to investigate all the information about his family, especially his wife's company. All the illegal activities that Prosecutor Yoon himself has done have been recorded by her. Because the casino can't withdraw money like before, the powerful people decided not to pay the prosecutors. So Annie told Prosecutor Yoon that if he wants to receive money, he should take good care of Johan. Although he was appointed as the manager, Johan is now very worried. Lawyer Ku is busy, so he flies to Macau to handle the case. At the same time, Prosecutor Hong leads people to Goldman to arrest Johan. Through the camera, Johan signals his teammates to call Chief Mok. Johan is taken to the special interrogation room of the prosecutor's office. Chief Prosecutor Yoon personally interrogates Johan. Prosecutor Yoon wants to know why Johan has to try so hard. Did Johan find out who was the mastermind behind the murder of his grandmother? Facing his enemy, Johan was extremely calm. He said that Suno was the culprit, but Suno was only following the orders of Chairman Wanbong. Behind this, there was another person who ordered Johan's elimination, and that was Chief Mok. At the baseball field, Chief Mok was having a headache thinking about why Johan could become so powerful. Just a year ago, Johan was just a prosecutor trainee, but now he had risen to become the manager of the largest casino in Korea. Many questions appeared in Chief Mok's mind. Why, how, and since when did Johan plan so meticulously? Could it be that Johan had been pretending since the prison visit? If all of this was true, then Johan had caught Prosecutor Yoon, which meant that Johan could deal with Chief Mok at any time. Just as Chief Mok thought, Johan successfully convinced Prosecutor Yoon to support him. In return, Johan would turn Prosecutor Yoon into a powerful person. Chairman Yang is now arresting Chairman Wanbong. Chairman Wanbong offers to become Chairman Yang's subordinate in exchange for a ticket to Macau. Although Chairman Wanbong has lost his power, his experience and plans can still be used. When he heard that Yang Hua was arrested, Chief Mok quickly went to talk to him. Chief Mok wanted to know why after Yang Hua helped his younger brother become chairman, he did not stop there, but continued to be a lackey for the most powerful and evil people in the country. The Yang brothers' past came flooding back. Since childhood, Yang Hua had to live in a cramped house. When his mother died early because of his alcoholic father, he and his younger brother could only wander around and sleep in the gym. Instead of letting everyone humiliate him, Yang Hua was determined to become the most powerful so that everyone would worship him. After interrogating Yang Hua, Chief Mok and his colleagues continued to monitor Johan's every move. Chief Mok had people install listening devices in every corner of the hotel. Only the VIP room was not accessible to Chief Mok. Johan himself knew that his room was being bugged, so he used this to manipulate Chief Mok. Everything was still going according to plan. After knowing that Johan met with Prosecutor Yoon, Su Yun was very excited because she was about to get revenge on him, the one who pushed her into the nightclub prostitution industry. But Johan wanted her to give him more time. Johan himself would use the law to make Prosecutor Yoon pay for his crimes. This made Su Yun very disappointed and thought that Johan was afraid. She declared that she would do as she pleased. At this point, Johan could not bear it anymore. He knew the whole truth. From the beginning, Su Yun knew that Johan was arrested to be an insider for the Corruption Investigation Agency. It was also because she recommended Johan to Chairman Wanbong. The two of them collaborated to trick Johan. When Chairman Wanbong paid attention to Johan, Mrs. Johan was killed. In the end, it was Su Yun who indirectly directly caused the tragedy in Johan's life. The content of the conversation was heard by Chief Mok. He was very surprised that Johan was still determined to follow the path of justice. That's why he went to see Johan to continue to cooperate. Johan wanted Chief Mok to personally take charge of this task. Chief Mok would lead people to raid the prison to catch the corrupt officials who were living a comfortable life in prison. At the same time, he would have people arrest Lawyer Ku, who was in Macau. When the soldiers went straight to the prison, Chief Mok did not discover anything there. The prisoners had all disappeared. It turned out that before they attacked the prison, Suyan had informed the Sinsun Dong. In return, she wanted the position of slush fund manager as a reward. Going back 4 days, the conversation was only half true when Johan had recorded what needed to be said. Then he took Suyan to the VIP room to tell his true intention. That is to use the law to punish Lawyer Yoon, but the powerful will cut off relations with Prosecutor Yoon to protect his secret fund. Then they will force Prosecutor Yoon to reveal all the leaders of this network, a plan to capture all the enemies. Johan suddenly received a phone call from Inspector Park. She took Johan to meet her boss. It turned out that she was a subordinate of the Anti-Corruption Investigation Agency. The boss proposed a cooperation offer that would benefit both sides. Johan would capture Prosecutor Yoon and the agency would capture the Central Investigation Department. Johan knew very well that the chance of success would increase significantly if the government agency was on his side, so he agreed to this deal. When he returned to the company, Johan wanted the mute guy to teach him sign language so that he could communicate conveniently without fear of being recorded. His goal was to divide the Sinsun Dong and the prosecution so that they would eliminate each other. After returning from the failed chase, Chief Mok suspected that Johan had tricked him, but Johan calmly cleared the air. Johan had no reason to do so, because he was the one who was being threatened. There was definitely a traitor within Goldman. So Johan had his men tighten security at the casino and check to see if there were any listening devices installed there. Chief Mok was worried when he mentioned the wiretap. Chief Mok and his team had to retrieve the wiretaps at all costs or he would be exposed. Another thing was that Johan wanted Chief Mok to leave a way out for Lawyer Ku. Lawyer Ku was an important person who could threaten the Sinsun Dongs. Although Lawyer Ku was interrogated with drugs, he refused to say anything. After cooperating with the new manager, Seiya regained his position. He had the Bukjong gang in his hands. The money laundering machine continued to operate well under the supervision of the mute guy, and things gradually stabilized. Suyan brought the manager confidential information about the prosecutors. Standing out on the list was Wu Jie, who was the one investigating the illegal activities of the upper class. He had a unique way of thinking. That's why Johan decided to meet this young prosecutor directly to confirm. Although he was born and raised in a wealthy family in Seoul, Wu Jie has a strong sense of justice. No matter the reason, as long as it is the right thing, he will do it. Johan can see the shadow of his father in this young prosecutor. After determining Wu Jie's character, Johan reveals that Chief Yoon is taking advantage of wealthy prisoners and is protecting a casino that launders 400 billion won a year. This is a profitable plan that Johan wants Prosecutor Won Jae to join. Meanwhile, Suyan goes to meet with the Sinsun Dongs privately to negotiate. She has gathered all the people who are motivated to eliminate Johan. The first candidate for the secretary position is Chief Mok. She meets with him to talk about the plan to take over Goldman. As long as he helps, she will give him a chance to shine. Although he doesn't believe what she says, he cooperates first and gradually takes over Sinsun Dong. Chief Mok kneels before the tycoons in prison. He will do whatever they say to get to the top position. Suyan's second person is Chairman Yang and his subordinates. She proposes an invitation to cooperate to defeat Johan, but he refuses. He is afraid that he will be betrayed again. But Chairman Wan Bong advises him to take this opportunity, otherwise the war will stop and victory will belong to Johan. Chairman Wan Bong needs Suyan's support to be able to confront Johan directly. So according to Chairman Yan's invitation, he comes to the study to discuss. All the candidates are allowed to meet each other. Although both sides do not have a good impression of each other, because they have the same goal, they will join forces. Suyan will try to find out the evidence that Johan used to manipulate Prosecutor Yoon. If she gets that evidence, she will easily control Prosecutor Yoon. The first thing President Yang does after cooperating with Suyan is to rescue his brother. He must have his brother's power to overthrow Johan. Yang Hua's escape was also part of the plan. On this side, Johan approaches Prosecutor Yoon to reveal to him the truth that Suyan's true identity is the daughter of a Korean-American businessman. In the pyramid scheme case 20 years ago, the case that Prosecutor Yoon participated in, that is the reason why Suyan hates him so much. This will make Prosecutor Yoon want to kill Suyan to silence her. Although he doesn't trust Chairman Wan Bong, everything the chairman said is true. The Yang brothers can't confront Johan directly at this time, so they sent Chairman Wan Bong to meet Suyan to assess the situation. Suyan invited them to announce that she found Johan's secret evidence. Johan will take Prosecutor Yoon to court for inciting murder, plus Chairman Yang's crimes and his grandmother's exoneration. The evidence Johan has in his hands is the ledger that Sun Oh keeps. It contains all the transaction information between Chairman Wan Bong and the Yang brothers. After listening to Suyan's plan in detail, Chairman Wan Bong is sure that she and Johan are on the same side. The only weakness of this plan is that Johan cannot harm others. This information has also been passed on to the Yang brothers. Feeling that her plan had failed, Soo-yeon pulled out a gun to threaten Chairman Won Bong, but she couldn't shoot. Things had gotten out of control. He was happily returning home, but didn't know that someone had put sleeping pills on the elevator button. The poison began to spread, causing him to collapse. Just waiting for that, Soo-yeon killed Chairman Won Bong with her own hands. The Macau headquarters also took action. After learning about Johan's betrayal, they sent a new representative to replace Annie. She offered a reward for whoever got Johan's head to officially take over Goldman's management position. On the way to dispose of Chairman Won Bong's body, Soo-yeon called Johan to inform him about the wanted poster. Feeling that danger was approaching, Johan told his subordinates to stop the car by the side of the road and go to the phone booth. After knowing his situation, he calmly walked out to the car as if nothing had happened. When the bodyguards got in the car, he started to run away. Johan ran across the highway full of cars to escape, ignoring the danger. Now there were enemies everywhere, which made Johan have to be more vigilant. Suddenly, a mercenary rushed in and knocked him down, and the two of them started fighting. When the assassin was off guard, Johan threw out a card to distract him. Then Johan picked up a nearby beer bottle and hit the thug straight on the head. Johan intended to kill the thug, but his subordinates rushed in too quickly, forcing Johan to continue running. Luckily, Soo-yeon drove in time to save Johan. The mute guy's company was not so lucky. He tried to copy all the server data to a USB before Seiya and the thugs rushed in. Seiya wanted to take over the management position, so he kidnapped the mute guy and forced Johan to come and ransom. With no other choice, Johan decided to enter Goldman alone. He was greeted by a group of thugs waiting. He quickly defeated a few of them and went to the office. Before entering, Johan conveniently took down the subordinate who was leading the way. Johan confidently stepped in to face the enemy. Seiya had prepared a subordinate standing behind him, ready to stab Johan at any time. Luckily, the mute guy signaled to warn Johan in advance. The lights went out, which was also the moment the Yang brothers attacked the company. The subordinates in the basement had all been eliminated, but the subordinates upstairs were still very numerous. Therefore, Yang Hwa told his younger brother to go first, and he would eliminate them all and then enter later. Thanks to the power outage, Johan took the opportunity to take down the surrounding subordinates and rescue the mute guy. At this moment, President Yang entered. He went on a rampage and slaughtered everyone, but surprisingly, the subordinate following him was Seiya's man. Taking advantage of the moment when President Yang was not on guard, the subordinate stabbed President Yang many times and taking him down. At this time, Yang Hwa had defeated all the subordinates and was about to enter the room. There was not much time left, so the mute guy told Johan to save Chairman Yang first. Johan needed Chairman Yang to force Yang Hwa to give a statement, but Seiya locked Johan tightly, not allowing him to move. There was no other way, so the mute guy had to use his body to block a few stabs from Chairman Yang before Yang Hwa entered. Seeing younger brother being stabbed, Yang Hwa was furious and brutally beat the subordinate to death. Before dying, the mute guy gave Johan a USB with data and asked Johan to take care of his wife and children. Downstairs, Prosecutor Hong had also arrived at the order of his superiors. Witnessing the scene made him scared and wanted to call the police, but his greed did not allow him to do so. At this time, Seiya also went downstairs. He thought Prosecutor Hong was the subordinate, so he killed Prosecutor Hong and escaped. The next morning, all the media reported the incident between the two gangs at Goldman. According to the investigation of the competent authority, Johan is the cause of the incident and is wanted. The director's son was also a victim in the war, so he suspected that Prosecutor Yoon was the one who ordered his son to go there. He immediately had someone investigate his son's phone log. If Prosecutor Yoon was found to be involved in this, the director would destroy everything he had built. Not only Johan, Soo-yeon was also wanted, but that was under the fake name she often used. With her ID card and real name, Soo-yeon easily entered the prosecutor's office to meet Prosecutor Yoon. Facing each other, he asked her if she was afraid, but since he sold her to a nightclub as a prostitute, she had to suffer every day to entertain customers. Now he was nothing for her to fear. Prosecutor Yoon was still very confident when he told Soo-yeon to run away before he caught her and then turned around and left. Suddenly, she pulled out a gun from her pocket, intending to shoot him to take revenge. Luckily, Johan arrived in time to stop her. Johan accepted being arrested so that Soo-yeon could be released. Before coming here, he had obtained the tape that Lee Guang kept, which was important evidence to convict Prosecutor Yoon. Once she knew the location of the tape, she would personally go get the evidence. Thanks to this tape, Johan had Prosecutor Yoon suspended from work and forced him to go to Goldman to talk. Welcoming Prosecutor Yoon in that room was Johan and his teammates. Johan said that this was not his trial or anything. This time he came here to be convicted. Johan showed him evidence of illegal money transactions between him and Chairman Won Bong. At the same time, Johan also recorded a confession video of Yang Hwa. Yang Hwa admitted all his crimes and exposed Prosecutor Yoon's criminal past. Prosecutor Yoon would instruct the Yang brothers to commit crimes on his behalf. Sometimes, he would make direct transactions with Chairman Won Bong. Not only that, Johan also had the tape that Lee Guang had hidden for so long. Prosecutor Yoon was the main character of this party. That was evidence that he colluded with the casino to launder money. Not stopping there, Johan also invited the new representative of the powerful to come come and settle this grudge. With her power, she forced him to confess all his crimes in court, or his wife's company would go bankrupt within a month. The result of his resistance was his death. When returned to his room, all of Prosecutor Yoon's relationships were gone. He was so depressed that he wanted to jump off the building and leave this world, but he received a call from Johan. Johan said that if he left this world, the ones who would suffer would be his family, his wife and children, who would have to live under the criticism of everyone for the rest of their lives. With no other choice, Prosecutor Yoon was forced to appear in court and admit all of his crimes. From the past to the present, not a single crime could be left out, but the court needed additional testimony to make a final judgment. It was at this moment that Johan became a witness to all the crimes committed by the Goldman Slush Fund. The real masterminds that needed to be eliminated were the powerful people who were truly harming the Republic of Korea. Otherwise, people like Prosecutor Yoon would appear in the future, and those crimes would continue. There was one person that Johan was looking for now, and that was Chief Mok. Johan made an appointment to meet him at the director's grave. Johan was angry and wanted him to admit all his crimes in front of the director. He was the one who killed the poor inspector who was pursuing Johan's case. Although Chief Mok's crimes were great and irreparable, Johan still wanted to give him one last chance, which was to preserve his reputation as an upright and honest prosecutor. On the way to prison, after being sentenced, Prosecutor Yoon was kidnapped by Seiya and the subordinates. The anonymous guest who hired Seiya to do this was none other than Soo-yeon. Although Seiya wanted to eliminate Soo-yeon right here, she had a gun on her. With just a few shots, the subordinates were scared and ran away. Only she and Prosecutor Yoon were left. Soo-yeon cruelly wanted him to experience the feelings she endured during her youth. That's why she injected the prosecutor with drugs before killing him. After successfully taking revenge, she still wanted to continue helping Johan, but he wanted her to stop. He wanted her to let go of her hatred and live a meaningful life, so Soo-yeon decided to confess to start over. As for Johan, after breaking up with her, he was suddenly kidnapped by a group of strangers. Thanks to that, Johan saw that Sun-oh was still alive. The person who kidnapped him was someone from the National Intelligence Agency. They want to cooperate with Johan to eradicate those who harm Korea, and Johan's smile is the answer. The movie ends here. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.